Hi, this is John. Many people ask me, why are custom wheels better than a factory-built wheel? And the answer is, they may or may not be. It depends on how you build them. You have to have a very clear idea of your targets when you build a custom wheel for them to be superior. Basically, though, the issue is it's best to build a wheel completely true a wheel under very, very, very low tension. You need tension in every spoke, but only just a little bit. And then you can move the drive side or disc side tension up once. If you start to mess around with the spokes at high tension, you very quickly weaken the rim. And with a factory built wheel, normally what they'll do is they will tension the wheel up in a machine and then true it after that. And you don't want to do that because now you're moving the nipples around with high spoke tension, which is going to round out those spoke holes and it's going to weaken them. If you do it right, you weaken them as little as possible by truing at a very low tension and then building the drive side up to the target tension and then doing the final truing with the non-drive side. So that's the key. I think a lot of spoke builders really don't know what they're doing when it comes to that. So without any further ado, I just want to remind everybody I still do custom wheels. You can see my website on the screen, nugentcycling.com. And we have specials all the time. So if you go to the website, you can see what's on special. There's no need for me to mention that stuff here. Without further ado, here is the video. And this is done in real time. So it was I think about 30 minutes for the wheel building, which is a long time for me because I was talking through the whole thing. Normally I do it in much less time than that. Thanks for watching. Okay, this is going to be a video on how to tension a front wheel. Although this is a disc wheel, so essentially it's the same as you would do a rear wheel. But the first thing you do when you put the hub in the stand, this is a Park TS2. So if you're using that, one of the issues with the Park TS2 is these are perfectly straight and they're at an angle. Although not very much with this front hub. With the rear hub, they're further out. So you want to make sure that this is down solid and just snug enough so it doesn't move. And that way you're not going to be pulling the wheel a little bit out of center. First thing we do is we put some oil on the spoke threads and in the spoke holes. You want oil on it. You don't want a lot of oil on it. Piece of tape over the valve hole. It really helps you know where you are on the wheel. If you don't tape it up, you know, you might go past it when you're doing your rounds of spokes. And I need all the help I can get. Sometimes I also put a tape on the seam, which is directly opposite the valve hole, because the valve hole and the seam are the two areas that normally give you the most problem in tensioning a wheel. Okay, so then we just give it a nice little spin. Don't have to go nuts here. And then I use a special drill, which basically is a screwdriver blade with a big pin in the end that pops the pops the spoke out, the nipple out. I'm going to try and just change this a little bit so I can actually see what I'm doing. Would be nice. I have my trilling stand mounted on a little chair. Now this is this 31 millimeter deep rim, so sometimes it's hard to find the nipple. So what you want to do is try and get the nipple close to eye level and bend the spoke so that it faces the drill head on. And I'm just doing this side of this. I always treat any disc wheel or a rear wheel, but I always treat them by the side. This is going a little slow because I normally am in a different position. But as you can see, it's still not too slow. Now the other alternative you have, if you don't have one of these nifty drills, is, I'll show you as soon as I'm done with this side. Just a particularly bad day for me. I also have a special rig I made with a spoke and a brass nipple. You just thread the brass nipple on down about 4 millimeters. And then when you're lacing the wheel, you thread it in the end of the nipple as you're putting the nipple in, and it'll bottom out. It does the same thing that this does. Okay, now drive side's done. Now with the non-drive. Non-drive is normally easier because it's got a better angle into the spokes. You want to be a little careful here. You don't want to do this for speed, because the more equal a length of the spokes you get, the I hexed myself. The easier it is going to be to chew it up. You get a regular rim, one that's not this deep, and normally you can go real quick. You really want to try and get the drill perpendicular to the nipple. Okay, so now they're all the same length. Next thing I'm going to do is try and get first the drive side, then the non-drive side up so that there's no flopping it at all. Judging by doing this, I think 2 turns is going to be what I need to do. Start at the valve hole and then go up every other nipple. I've always found it hard to talk and do this so that I get the right number of turns. Now we're just about opposite the valve hole, which means now I should be pulling against the opposite spoke. And I can tell right now that I should have done 3 turns. You just want to get it under a little tension. That's your whole goal here. And you'll notice the easy way to do it is to, so I'm going to go another turn on this. And note the easy way to do this is to slide the, what's 3? I'll do it long. I'm going to do them 2. You're always better to judge them being a little loose rather than a little tight. What you'll find is that if you'll find that if you go too tight, it's more of a hassle to true the wheel. Okay, so I did that a total of 4. Now, you can't see it from where you are, but the rim is very far to the drive side. So I'm going to try, assuming my spoke lengths are accurate on both sides, I'm going to try just doing this 4, hoping that it will also bring the drive side tension up to where it should be. This is just a regular part spoke wrench, but it's one that grabs the nipple on all 4 sides. I always do each section, that is the drive side, non-drive side, separately till we get to the final okay. Now those are all, this is 1 loose, 2, okay. So now I'm going to do another 2 turns on the non-drive side, because there were 3 in a row that were loose. If there was only 1 or 2 loose nipples, I would have tightened them just so they're under tension. And started my initial truing after that. I can tell now I'm getting tension on all of the nipples. Okay, I'm pretty sure there's tension on all of the as long as there's some ring in it. That's loose. You can hear that? There's no ring. This one is tight. That's tight. That's tight. This is barely tight. So I'm just going to just take the tension. Now, you can't see it from there, but it's almost true laterally. That's because I was good with the drill. I'm just gonna make a couple of changes here. So looser, very tight, a little bit tighter, and the rim is going over to the non-drive side. So I'm going to just loosen this drive side a tiny bit. Okay, this is tighter, loose. And it's again to the now you can't see it, but I'll move the rig back. I'll change positions of the camera so you can see exactly what's going on. Now you can see everything's under very low tension, and the basic trueness is pretty close. So the first thing we're going to do on this is we're going to do the radial run out. Now we're going to do the radial run out. And this is the most critical part of the truing right here. Now, these are in 10,000ths of an inch. So this is -10, that's plus 10 thousandths. And we want to get it so that the tolerance is around 5 thousandths total. Okay, so with the needle here, that means we need to tighten and realize as we tighten this, we're going to be pulling against the opposite side. That looked like the seam right there. You can see it just goes plop. That's likely the seam or some kind of other little dent. I always like to tighten first. I'm in an awkward position for doing this. So now we're from 0 to about -10. But let's go into the middle of that by adjusting this. We can change our 0 point. I want to change it to right about there. So you just adjust the motion of this thing here, and it changes your 0 point. So again, I'm going to tighten. Can't see where I am on the spoke. I don't know why, but I've always used my left hand for adjusting spoke nipples. This thing would have a pretty big one. This is all in real time, so you can see how long. Okay, now, okay, I'm almost where I used to be before, but let's pull these down. Tightening, and I don't want to go back to 0. And see, right now I'm almost within 5 thousandths. I like to use this for radial and I do the visual on the non-radial. That's just about there. We got one here that's a little tiny bit off. Now I'm going to only turn that nipple maybe a quarter turn or under a quarter turn to get that rim. Got that little bump. That's something on the rim, I think. See, when you start to get it this close, you could do it for a long time, and that's close enough. So now I've got my radial run out done. Let me get this one. The key when you're doing this, again, don't go all the way to 0, because when you do that, you're pulling the other side out of whack. That's close enough. Now we're going to just focus on our lateral adjustment. And what I'm going to do here, for the most part, it just looks like one spot goes to the non-drive side. So I'm going to, off camera, because I have to be right behind the drawing stand to do this, I'm going to adjust that out. Just loosening to left and tightening the right spokes until, I'm not going to try and center it, although this one looks like it may center itself right there, very close to center. But anyway, all I'm doing now is focusing on the lateral and moving that non-drive side to the drive side. That's it. We're done with the radial adjustments. Okay, that was literally turning a couple of spokes. Got it, that's straight. Now, that's not perfect, but it's good enough for now. The next thing I'm going to do is, and I keep saying drive side, it should be this side because this is front wheel. The next thing I'm going to do is tension the drive side spokes to the target tension. Next thing I'm going to do is tension the drive side spokes to the target tension. Take the Park tensiometer out here now. And this is a sapphire laser spokes, which I use a lot of. My target tension, I'm at about 5. Just about 5. So based on experience, I want to get this side spokes up to 18. Or probably maybe 17, because when I pull it back over to center it, my guess is that's 3 turns. Now, again, you're not seeing me doing any truing or anything. I'm just tensioning the drive side. Now it's getting really tight with this spoke wrench. So I got this big old one. I think it's the DT Swiss, but I don't know. I've been using it for 15 years. This has a lot more leverage, and also it really gathers around the nipple really well so that you don't strip nipples. Because when you get up to high tensions, especially with alloy nipples, you can strip them. Although it's been over a year since I actually stripped a nipple. And you, with the round spokes, especially lasers, because they're thin in the center, you have to over tighten and then back it off a little bit so they're not loaded up. Okay, now, where are we? We're at 17. Now, if your radial is pretty close, you don't have to go and measure every spoke. It doesn't do you any good. The tension on the spokes will be very close. One a little loose. You can't see it, but it's all you're looking at is a straight rim. So I'm going to now take the non-drive side, only non-drive side, and I'm going to turn it once to see if that centers the rim. That's all I'm doing now is centering the rim. I'm not touching radial or drive side, just centering the rim with the non-drive side. And if the spoke is not tight, it's not going to wind up. It's only when they're at high tension they tend to wind up. If the spoke is loose, you don't have to go over and come back like that. There's no wind up in that spoke. The two things that I would not go without, especially if I was building wheels for a living, is this big guy spoke wrench. And Park makes them too, and DT makes them. They're not cheap. Well, depends what you want called cheap. But they're most important tools in the bag. And then the other thing is this dial indicator. I wouldn't build wheels without that. For 25 bucks. Okay, now we're starting to get to the, since it's pretty centered, I'm only going to adjust now the non-drive side spokes to center it. And the reason for that is well, in this case, the dish is a little off. But it's the non-drive spokes, or this side, I should say, that are looser. Okay, we're getting real close now. I wish I could show you the... Now, when you get that, what happens is that the nipple will have a problem with the thread. And if you can tighten up the nipple and then back it off so that that pinging doesn't go on, you're good. But if you have a problem where you can't really adjust the nipple because of the pinging, then you need to take the, either replace the spoke, or I have a Philwood spoke. Threader. So I just run the spoke through the threader, and that fixes the problem. We're getting down into the real nitty-gritty here. A couple thousandths of an inch. And all of this is in real time. So a front wheel that is non-disc, which is a lot quicker than this because you only have to deal, don't have to deal with the two different sides, is about 15-minute build for me. Now I also, right now, I'm checking to make sure that the hub is centered, that I can't move it. When I pull on a rim, I don't want to be able to move the hub. And if I can, then the rim is not going to be centered. So I'll back out here and give you a shot of the final. That's about 2/1000. That's good. You can see it. There is a little bit of run out there, but that's about as good as you're going to get. Now the last thing we do, I like to use gloves for this, because it hurts your hands if you do it right. Some people are tough, I guess, you know. I don't see any value in that. So I put on these heavy gloves, pull the calipers out, start at the tape, and go around and just squeeze the spokes. By getting the initial radial run out around 5/1000, normally your final is about 10/1000. That's pretty good. Oh, there's one click. Now I check the everything again just to make sure. Now everything is good and square, so I put Loctite 242 on. Put it on here, and then you spin the wheel around and it slurps back into the spoke nipple. Velomax, when I was working with Velomax on their real high-end USA made wheels, they would actually build with Loctite, but you only have about a 35-minute window before it starts thickening up. And this works fine. When you take a spoke out that's had Loctite on it, you can see where the Loctite goes, and it goes right in the threads, which is what you want. Again, a good reason for not putting a lot of extra oil on the nipples. You want the Loctite to get in there after the build. Spin it. And when if you use Loctite, always point the nipple away from you when you close it, because a lot of times some stuff will squirt out and you don't want to get that in your eye. Just for grins, this is the Philwood spoke cutter, and what you see on there actually is some of this Teflon lube. It's a dry lube, but I spray on there to lubricate it. I also use a regular wet oil, but the dry lube works well too, and it's not sticky. It's just Teflon. So finally, to clean up, I use Windex, and before the wheels are shipped, I go over the rims again with acetone. Acetone really does a good job in cleaning. You don't need to wear gloves or be in a ventilated area. Leonard Zanos used to say that about acetone, but it's not true. You can just use it straight out of the can. One thing you do have to be aware of is it's extremely flammable. It's bomb-like flammable. That's one of the reasons why you can't bring a glass of water, a bottle of water onto a plane, because if that's acetone, it's got some extreme firepower. Now, I'm not a terrorist, so I don't know how much, but that's it. Now I'm going to use a centering gauge, which you don't need to see, to just make double sure that that rim is dead in the center. Hi, this is John again. Thanks for watching the video. And if you want to keep posted on all of my new postings, because I'm going to do more and more and more videos from now on, you can subscribe, and then you'll be videos will come to you automatically if you do that. Thanks for watching.